Hi, welcome to the second part of the lecture on environment and economy. This lecture series is prepared for the Middlesex University Northern Cyprus campus. Well, last time I have mentioned that the fact that our economic system is affecting nature creates an opportunity and also a danger. The opportunity was basically since we are able to transform the environment, we are able to transform the environment in a way that it will provide more use value for us. And this idea is kind of made fancy about, especially in the science fiction movies, when planets like Mars are considered, and they're actually you transform the planets to Earth-like planets with water and atmosphere, basically, so that humans can live in those planets more comfortably. So you got at least the basic use values like air you can breathe and water you can use. That's called actual terraforming, actually making like the Earth. And one interesting aspect of however, one of those stories, which was in Red Mars, was actually even there was a particular group of people who were called Reds. Interestingly, not because they were socialists, because they actually did not want to terraform Mars. They wanted Mars like it is, so they wanted people to enjoy Mars as it was at that point. So that's the problem with designing nature, actually, or designing the environment. Well, there is one problem, which is actually we might not know how our actions will affect the environment, because the environment is a complex system. In complex systems, when you change something, you cannot predict the overall effects easily. You can predict broad effects, maybe, but not fine effects, and those fine effects might vary, and even if you cannot get the full complexity of the system rightly, those broad effects can be problematic. And even if we solve this problem, which maybe we can solve, the problem will remain. We might basically not have a collective definition of the use value, at least yet. I mean, we might disagree with how we exactly want to transform the nature, just in case of the rats in the book I was talking about. Even though to some extent, actually, this changing nature thing is done in some ways. Like cities are the way we change nature. Of course, we are building houses, but later we also plan the cities, and basically, as we plan the cities, we are designing the environment we are inside of. And while we are designing the environment, we might also design a lake, a park, a forest type of place. In a way, we are even designing natural features. We are not designing all planets, but we are very much designing a very larger chunks of it. At least larger than traditional villages, and basically, sometimes as large as some whole big forest, an area that can actually that can spread. That could host a whole forest, basically. And well, we also, for example, fill the seas, for example, or open canals, which might be different ways. We are actually, well, we might not be aware of, but we are transforming the environment. We are shaping the environment around us. And maybe since we are doing that, we should also we should also notice this. We are changing our environment, we are transforming our environment, and we should do it by considering the broad effects. We should basically also maybe change the environment considering broad effects. We should not be afraid of starting the discussion of it, maybe. And in order to start discussion, maybe, I mean, economics itself might expand itself also the possibilities of designing, transforming environment. And basically, we should maybe build economics, which is like the world system, integrates, studies economics integrated with the environment. And that might be something beneficial to understand what we are doing when we when we are actually designing nature. First, recognize it, that we are designing nature, we are designing the environment, and then understand basically what are its full impacts, both from economic side and the environment side. Anyway, but I'm passing this because this is a not that much studied possibility. I just wanted to mention the concept and the idea there, since the idea was hanging around, hanging over, basically, over. Now we can go to the unfavorable changes. At least we don't want our economic system to transform our nature in a way that would be unfavorable for us. But what is unfavorable if we cannot agree on the use value of the things? Well, unfavorable is basically, if you remember the needs and wants, basically, there are certain resources we need to survive, and those resources, at least the resources we need to survive, should be there. We should have enough water, we should have enough food, we should have air that is healthy enough to breathe. And we should make sure our economic system won't take us those resources, and the temperature, which might be sufficiently at levels that allow our survival, possible comfortable survival also. So how can we understand? And this, the understanding, actually making analysis for this part might also maybe in future help making analysis for the previous, let's say, possibility also we have mentioned. So how can we understand, how can we model the way our economic system is transforming the nature? Actually, this analysis might be a bit more simple, maybe. This is the most simple model we can come with. Again, we are taking environment and economics separately, but we are building two different types of interactions with the environment and the economic system. One is our economic system is taking resources from the environment. This fact itself might transform the nature. We will see how, when and how. And the second thing is our economic system is sending its waste. When it has a waste, sending its waste to the environment. When we take them as separate entities, I mean when we don't think economic system is built on the environment. So this waste might also transform the environment. So let's go further. When do the resources, taking resources, change the environment? Well, here is the main model. Think on a lake. When you take water from the lake, when you take 1 cup of the lake, probably it will rain. It will basically, you will have a river, something like that, and that water will be restored by the lake. I mean, if you come a day later from the lake, you don't see lake to be the level of the lake will be changed, or there won't be any meaningful change in the level of the lake created by your action. If you increase the water you take up to a certain level, maybe not immediately, but in a week or so, the lake is able to restore itself. But if you pass a certain threshold, if you take a resource above a certain threshold level, in that case, lake won't be able to restore itself. So basically, it might be possible that the level of the lake will suddenly start to go down, more down, more down, more down, more down, and at some point, lake will be depleted. The water in the lake will deplete. This could be applied to any environmental resources. It could be applied for the forest. If you cut just a few trees, the forest might restore itself. But if you cut more and more trees, after a certain point, the restoring power of the forest might not anymore exist. This could be true for Earth. This could be true for any environmental resource you think of. In some cases, like for example, when you take oil from the ground, that limit is at a very low level. In that case, I mean, if you would extract any meaningful amount of oil, that would mean the oil resources will deplete at a certain point in history. I mean, you cannot extract the amount little enough so that the oil resources can restore itself, basically. So this is the first impact, the resource side impact. Then you have waste side impact. That could be, for example, disposing CO2. Again, if you put any kind of waste to the environment might absorb this waste. That's why, for example, when you live in village, basically the human waste that is created and animal waste that is created might not affect the health of the people in the village that much, especially if it's dispersed to the surroundings of the village. Because as long as the population of the village remains small, the waste, the human and animal waste created by the village might be absorbed by the environment around the village, and basically the environment around the village might not be significantly affected. I mean, the resources it provides, the quality of water, quality of earth, basically, might not be that much affected by the waste. But if you grow the population of the village, if you especially turn it to a town or city, for example, in medieval eras, in that case, now the waste, the human waste and animal waste that is created might very well change the environment. And that's why in the medieval eras, especially, the cities continuously were experiencing contagious diseases. Almost every 10-20 years there was a deadly disease in the city, in cities in pre-modern era, which killed a lot of people. And usually cities solve this problem by taking the waste from the city and throwing it somewhere else where it might still change the environment, basically. That doesn't mean that that waste won't be a changing environment where it is disposed. And also take the resource that is necessary from the city, for example, the water from somewhere else. Again, that doesn't mean necessarily the resource you take won't be depleted. In fact, actually, the cities might deplete the resources they take from other areas. It's a very common thing in modern eras. But that's one way, again, to study the waste side impact. You just, again, just like in the case of resources, there's a limit, basically, of amount of waste. If you are passing this limit, then you are transforming environment, and that transformation might very well be decreasing the use value you got from the environment. Of course, what is true for the earth and water is also true for air. I mean, if you dispose too much pollutants to the air, basically the quality of the air of your cities might also transform. But if you do it to a sufficient amount to the atmosphere, I mean, not your immediate air above the city, but to the greater atmosphere around the earth, well, in that case, the atmosphere itself might change. The oceans, well, similarly, actually, the oceans themselves might change if you deplete too much pollutants to the oceans and basically to the seas. Same thing is true for Earth, but in Earth basically